Good evening, everyone. I call out of recess Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals hearing on petition 23P 1605 Maples Road Solar One LLC's request for a special use permit to construct a solar energy system in the county. The Zoom meeting ID, if somehow you can hear me but are not on Zoom, is 915-3923-9154. And the password is 209840. If you want to just watch and listen on YouTube, go to your browser, www.youtube.com. In the search bar, type Lee County IL, short for Illinois, Zoning Board of Appeals. Don't worry about upper or lowercase letters. Select, folks, can we keep it quiet in here, please? Select the date that you want, and you should be seeing and listening to us. If you need technical assistance for any of these things, please feel free to call Ms. Duffy's Technical Assistance Hotline, 815-973-3449. I note that tonight, Monday, May 8th, I see the following people here in person in the courtroom. Chairman Forster, Vice Chair Burrow, Mr. Myers present, Ms. Huss is present, Ms. Duffy and her able assistant Alice are present, Assistant State's Attorney Sasser is present, Ms. Kennedy for the petitioner is present, as is one of her client's representatives. I see in the audience 9 interested parties, bringing our courtroom attendance to 21. And Jonathan from IT tells me that there are 2 people on Zoom. All right. When we left off on Thursday last, I think Ms. Kennedy, you had indicated you wanted to recall your last witness, and you may feel free to do so. Different day, so we swear in again. I don't know why, but just because. Do you solemnly swear?
Thanks.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thanks. Take the same hot seat.
May I proceed? Thank you.
Please.
Mr. Ryan, at our last hearing, you looked through the application materials previously submitted to the county, and then you had looked through a physical hard copy of the application materials that I had provided to you, and it seemed like there was a little bit of confusion about the contents of that. Have you had a chance to investigate that matter further?
I have.
Okay. And did you figure out the discrepancy?
There was no discrepancy.
And so the materials in the physical copies of the application materials are similar or the exact same as the items submitted to the Lee County Zoning Administrator?
They are. I just couldn't find what I was looking for.
Okay. So in other words, you don't have other versions of the application materials floating around?
I do not.
Thank you. Jumping back to the panels proposed for this project, what is the thickness of those panels?
Each panel is about, well, exactly 1.18 inches.
And when we discuss the racking, if those are installed on posts, how are they set into the ground?
Depending on the geotechnical scope, they are either pile driven in, or if there's bedrock below the ground, they are augered.
And what is the depth if those are pile driven?
15 feet.
And then the other method that we had touched on was if you were to use augered screws, is that correct?
Yes, correct. That's if there's bedrock.
And how would you screw in that material?
It's a hydraulic driver.
Will the panels be cleaned periodically as part of the project's maintenance plan?
They don't need to be cleaned unless they get severely dirty, and that's monitored remotely, so they can see if a panel is not receiving an adequate amount of sun. So then somebody would come and attend the maintenance, but they're not cleaned on a certain schedule or anything.
And so in that example that you just provided, how would they be cleaned?
I believe they would just be washed off with the use of a water truck or some source of water, not necessarily from a utility line.
And do you have an approximation about how much water could theoretically be used?
I honestly don't.
Let's jump to the point of interconnection for this project. Can you describe more exactly where that is?
Right now, we go by a certain coordinates for the point of interconnection. And when the utility company does a construction walk, they'll figure out which actual pole is best to interconnect with. We have a general idea based off the GPS coordinates and where we have the location of the access road on the map, but the exact pole is not determined.
And that general idea or general location that you just mentioned, is that depicted on the site plan submitted?
It is in the southwest corner.
Is there a 20-foot entrance gate proposed for the fencing?
There is.
Where would that gate be located?
That would be located where the access road enters into the site.
Are there any other planned gates?
There are 3 other 4-foot gates for pedestrian entrance or exit.
And where would that be located at? Or where would those, excuse me, be located at?
Those should be located on the other sides of the site away from the access road so that there's easy entrance or exit from the site. Look at the map. They should be depicted on there. I'll have to look at another map. They're shown on one of the many maps we have.
So I have a packet or some maps that I placed in front of you. I marked them as petitioners exhibits A, B, and C.
Yep.
I'm going to direct your attention to the exhibit C. And first off, are you familiar with this?
I am, yes.
Okay, and what is it?
This is the layout and material plan.
And would this be an updated layout and materials plan?
It is.
Okay. And this was updated?
It was,
When?
it was updated on Friday.
Okay. And is those 4-foot gates depicted on this map that you can tell?
They should be, but I am having trouble locating them.
Do we have this on digital form, these maps, these exhibits?
I don't believe so, but I can email it if need be. Judge, can we take a quick 2-minute recess? So I
Sure,
can-
of course you can. You stay there or step down, it's up to you. Okay. I don't care.
What email do you want that sent to?
Everybody can relax.
What, do you? Okay.
Off the record, we're taking time out for a technical tweak. You one of those people who can drink coffee.
If maybe, Judge, if I could direct this, we have our engineer on Zoom. Is that possible to swear them in?
Well, just, let's take one thing.
Okay.
Here. You're on the witness stand right now.
Okay.
Don't you, Ally, don't you drink that and then stare at the ceiling all night? That's all.
Coming in 2 emails to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Correct.
All set? All set or not?
Vehicle.
Right in the, here's the 4 foot. Okay.
Kelly, did she start with his name?
4 foot
Did she start with his name?
main gate.
Start with his name?
I don't
We
think,
found 2. But I was wondering
You
if
can
there's
cure
a
that
gate
one.
clear out here at Maples Road
I don't think they're on the plans. I just,
coming
All set?
in.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, back on the record.
I'm going to do a quick housekeeping matter. Can you please state your name for the record?
hi, my name is Tom Ryan,
And how do you spell your last name?
Ryan.
Mr. Ryan, from last Thursday night to today, I assume nothing has changed about your credentials, except for you may have gained a few days' experience?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I believe my last question was about an access gate. Looking at petitioner's Exhibit C, is there an access gate noted on this site plan?
There is one example on there, yes.
Okay, and where is that located at?
It is located on the west side. Right in the middle, you'll see 3 over C 5.0, 4 foot wide man gate.
Can you describe the construction of that 20-foot access road?
Yes, the access road will be graded. They'll have 12 inches dug out of the ground. The bottom 8 will be rough gravel, and then the top 4 will be smoother gravel. And they'll do this to keep the drainage consistent.
You mentioned earlier in your testimony that a stormwater analysis memorandum was prepared. Was that prepared by the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District?
Yes, it was.
And was that 117 pages in length?
About that, yeah.
And was that submitted by the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District to the Lee County Zoning Administrator?
Yes,
And you testified earlier that that memo concluded that it would decrease CN. What does that mean? What does CN stand for?
curve number.
Say again, I'm sorry.
Curve number?
Curve?
Yes, CURV, which is a measurement of runoff.
And the application materials previously submitted read in relevant part that the drainage flow through the property will be maintained both at the surface and below grade via drain tiles. Are those tiles already existing or do they need to be installed during construction?
They already exist.
And you also testified earlier that you would contact the jurisdictional drainage district for a drain tile survey as well. Do you commit to doing this prior to the issuance of a building permit?
Yes, we will.
Would the construction noise that you noted from the trucks and rack support pile settings be in excess of the Illinois Pollution Control Board standards for noise levels?
It may reach 6.0, but that is actually, the construction vehicles are not measured on that standard.
So if I understand that correctly, construction equipment construction equipment or construction activities?
The activities, I'm sorry, including the equipment.
And that construction activities do not fall under the the Illinois Pollution Control Board standards?
Correct, but it will still only reach around 6.0 decibels.
Okay.
60 decibels, sorry.
And will the motion sensor security light at each inverter and transformer be full cutoff fixtures?
Yes,
And are you familiar with the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office HARGIS survey?
yes.
And was one completed in relation to this project?
We had a SHPO done showing no archaeological artifacts on the site.
And was that study or finding included in your application materials?
Yes,
Jumping to construction, will the workers during the construction process, will they park on the laydown area during construction?
they will.
The FAA notice criteria tool indicated that this project did not exceed the notice criteria, but the report generated and included in those application materials is not dated. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And when did you complete that?
The original was completed in February. We did another one today just because it is not date stamped when it's produced on the website.
And is that out of the ordinary that it's not date stamped?
No, it's how it works.
And so the one that you conducted in February, I'm assuming that was in February of this year?
Oh, yes.
How far is the nearest airstrip from the leasehold area?
About 2.3 miles as the crow flies.
Is the project area underneath any air traffic approach path?
Not that we're aware of.
And following your testimony last Thursday night, have you prepared a proposed vegetative screening plan for this project?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to Exhibit A, if you will. And for tech support, that's labeled the landscape plan. Are you familiar with this exhibit?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you assist in the preparation of this exhibit?
I did.
And is this the vegetative screening plan proposed?
It is.
Okay. Please walk me through what this plan looks like.
If you look along the north boundary of the project site, the entire line there is all vegetative screening for the all of the housing to the north. And
Would
then
that be where the subdivision is
subdivisions,
located?
yes, the subdivisions in the north, and then bent around the corner for any other residents up to the northwest. And then we have it down here on the southwest corner to block any view from Douglas's house. And then also along the access road along where Douglas's house is located.
When you say Douglas, who do you mean?
I'm sorry.
That'd be Mr. Douglas Gardner?
Mr. Douglas Gardner.
And the landowner would be the DPG Trust, is that
DPG
correct?
Yes, excuse me, DPG Trust.
And what what is the vegetative screening going to be comprised of?
We use different types of arborvitae because they're hardy and they grow fast and very full.
And do you plan on staggering?
Yes, we do.
And will those be planted at a minimum of 3 feet tall?
We do 6 feet.
And then will they reach a minimum height of 8 feet tall within 4 years of planting?
Yes,
And on behalf of the applicant, do you commit, in the instance where it fails to meet 8 feet within that time period, do you commit to replacing those trees?
we do.
And do you commit to maintaining the visual screen for the life of the project?
Yes,
Do you commit to installing the visual screen as early as possible once you are in the construction phase of the project?
yes,
And was this proposed landscaping plan here, this visual screen, was it prepared by an Illinois registered landscape architect?
it was not.
And do you commit to updating this vegetative screening plan at the time you apply for a building permit and having it reviewed and approved by an
Yes.
Illinois registered landscape architect?
Yes, we do.
And will you provide proof of this to the Lee County zoning administrator at that time?
Yes,
The ordinance gives you the option to reach out to the adjacent non-participating landowners regarding the visual screening proposed. Is that correct?
yes, it is.
And have you previously spoken with any adjacent landowners regarding the screening?
This was brought up during the committee meeting and at times since.
Okay. And who specifically did you speak with at the community meeting?
I'm not sure the name of the landowners to the east.
And you understand that the ordinance gives an adjacent non-participating landowner of a dwelling the option to receive either the screening as proposed by the project or a one-time payment from the project equal to the cost of design, installation, maintenance, and removal of that screening.
Yes,
And do you commit to reaching out to adjacent landowners of occupied dwellings regarding the visual screening options?
I do.
And do you commit to doing so by certified mail return receipt requested?
Yes,
If you are able to reach an agreement with those adjacent landowners regarding the proposed screening, do you commit to providing a memorandum of understanding to the Lee County Zoning Office?
I do.
And do you commit to doing so at least 30 days before the issuance of any building permit?
Yes, I will.
And from the date of our last hearing to today's date, the company has removed its proposal concerning the use of battery energy storage in connection with this project. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
Are you proposing the use of any batteries with this project?
No, we removed all battery storage.
And Exhibit C reflects that change. Is that correct? That is the layout and materials plan?
Yes, that's correct. Storage used to be located in the center where it says electrical equipment, and now it's been removed.
Will any topsoil within the leasehold area be removed, stripped, or sold?
No, it will not.
Will the applicant use all engineering practices to minimize disturbance to the project site?
Yes,
Will the applicant or developer establish vegetative ground cover using native prairie species?
yes, we do.
And do you commit to maintaining the same while minimizing environmental risks?
Yes,
Did you submit a landscape plan that includes the elements of weed and grass control?
yes,
And is that included in the application or supplemental materials?
it is.
Will the applicant comply with all recommendations of the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District's Natural Resources Inventory Report?
Yes,
I'm going to direct your attention to the last exhibit that I have, Exhibit B, or what I've marked Exhibit B, excuse me, and it's labeled Overall Parcel Exhibit. While we're getting that pulled up on the screen, are you familiar with this?
I am.
Okay, did you assist in the preparation of this document?
Yes,
And was it in anticipation of tonight's hearing?
yes,
And is this an updated site plan for the project?
It is.
And does this show the entire project parcel?
It does. It shows all 299 acres.
And specifically, it also shows the southern boundary of the project parcel. Is that correct?
Yes.
If this project interferes with TV, radio, cellular, emergency services, or other communications, do you commit on behalf of the applicant to complying with the Lee County ordinance requirements to respond and mitigate those complaints and interference?
I do.
And except for that which is needed for the point of interconnection, would any systems, equipment, and structures exceed 20 feet in height when it's ground mounted?
No.
Jumping back to the community meeting that you held, did you present a landscaping plan at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And that landscaping plan, was it for the landscaping within the project site?
Within the site, yes.
But you would discuss screening options for adjacent landowners during that meeting as well. Is that my understanding?
I didn't have a plan, but we had a discussion.
Sure. And were there any questions at that time regarding any screening?
Not really. The idea was brought up, but I don't think it was, I don't think there were any interested parties.
And I believe you testified earlier that the existing conditions plans shows the overhead electrical transmission line running across the project parcel. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And was that marked as a utility easement?
It is.
And you also testified that there were no underground pipelines running through the project parcel. How do you know that?
That would show up in the title report or other reports that we research.
And so a title report, who generates that report?
A title company.
And you commissioned the title company to go through court records or prior deeds of record, is that correct?
That's correct.
How do you intend to dispose of solid waste during construction?
The use porta potties.
And what about during the operations or maintenance phases of the project?
Nobody uses the bathroom on site during that time.
How many homes would the energy produced by this project power?
1 megawatt can power about 173 houses. So this is a maximum of 5 megawatts, so it could power over 800.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Let's go around the horn. Ms. Sasser? Ms. Hinkle?
Referring to your Exhibit A,
Yes.
Jonathan, that's this one. Sorry, with the tree design on it. Landscape, yep. So what this map is showing is that screening will occur adjacent to the fence surrounding the array.
It would be adjacent on the outside of the fence.
Okay. Is other additional screening being proposed adjacent to the non-participating owner's property line?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Alice?
Is other screening being proposed that would be located adjacent to the non-participating owner's property line?
No, it would just be along the fence line of the site.
Okay. That is all.
Ms. Duffy? Mr. Forster?
No questions.
Mr. Burrow?
Just one clarification. I think in your previous night's hearing, you mentioned an ag fence, and then on this drawing tonight, it's mentioned cyclone fence. Which fence type are you talking about?
It should be ag fence. I'm not sure why this one says cyclone fence.
Okay, and the ag fence you're describing is squares or?
I believe they're more diamond shaped, so squares,
Okay,
more mesh looking.
okay, okay. That's all, thank you.
Mr. Meyer?
On the layout and materials plan, will there be a gate at Maples Road to keep traffic from coming down to your laydown yard? Or because there's no fence there, there won't be a gate at the road either?
We don't plan on having a gate at the end. We can put signage there though.
The 4-foot wide man gate, there's one, is there only one proposed or will there be more than one?
There'll be more than one. I'm not sure why there's only one listed on the plan, but there'll be at least two.
Will there be, like, during the construction part, during the laydown, will there be any cameras or anything there? Or how are you going to secure that during construction?
We don't plan on any cameras. If desired, we could do that.
And on the landscape plan, I see where the seating underneath the Valtalic units are, it's going to be sheep pasture mix. Is there any intent to have sheep under the panels? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. We would inquire further, but yeah, we'd like to try to have the option of incorporating agrivoltaics, which is the combination of agriculture and photovoltaics. So it's not a definitive idea, but it's something we'd like to pursue perhaps.
Have you done it before?
Personally, not yet, but it's becoming a more common practice.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Ms. Huss?
At these 4-foot man gates, how will they be secured?
A Knox box?
At each gate?
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
All right. Interested parties, if someone has one or more questions. Mr. Ryan, would you just raise your hand and I'll. Yep. We got a microphone on that podium there. If you'd use that, please, and tell us your name and ask away.
Rich Fry is my name.
Would you spell your last name for the court?
Frye.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think we were back to Exhibit B with the overall project.
Yep.
Were there other sites in the area that were considered? Or is that in our general neighborhood?
That's two questions. He can only answer
Okay,
one at a
I'm
time.
sorry.
No,
It's hard to, no, just answer one question at a time. Otherwise, we get all messed up.
Were there other sites in our neighborhood that were considered?
not that I'm aware of.
Were there other sites scouted in our neighborhood?
I'm not sure. I didn't do the scouting, so I can't really answer that.
Is this site, do you think this site is expandable?
Expandable?
As in more 35 acre?
No. Right now we have a 5 megawatt limit when it comes to community solar. So this is the largest we could make it on site. You can't do it with an adjacent property either.
Inside the 300 acres, there won't be another 35 acre?
No.
Okay. And why is this named Maples Solar One?
Why is it named that? Oh, it's on Maples Road, and we name most of our projects Solar One, and then so it just made sense. Maples Road, Solar One.
So there will be a maple solar too?
Somewhere else in the country could do, usually name most of the LLCs with a number so that there is an option if somebody had something else anywhere else in the US that they want to name Maples Road Solar, they could do Maples Road Solar 77 if they wanted to.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody else? You had your hand raised first. Go ahead. No, this gentleman had his hand raised here. Same thing, if you'd start with your name and
Hi, Daryl Ankney, Ankney. How much authority will Mike Pratt have during the construction phase?
It is still his land, so he have the authority to direct anybody that's doing anything wrong on the property.
And you guys will heed that if he sees like a mismanagement of stewardship of the property, he can step in and stop you guys?
Well, we actually don't do the construction.
Who does the construction?
Once we have this complete as a package, we sell it to a company that does the construction.
Do you retain ownership after the construction?
We do not.
So that's interesting. Do you get federal and state aid for building this project?
We can get incentives if we follow into the correct code.
Let me rephrase that. Are you going to get state and federal aid for building this project?
We don't know yet. You have to fall into the criteria when it comes to interconnection, agrivoltaics, pollinators, all the above. So it's very hard to hit the criteria, but we are trying.
So after you build this, you sell it, who keeps the proceeds from the state or federal government when you get it, or if you get it?
It goes to the development of the site.
That changes a lot. Sorry, another question is, how much authority will Doug Gardner have during the construction phase? Doug Gardner is directly affected. He's the closest neighbor.
you're telling
to the
him
site.
things now. You're telling him things now. Just ask a question.
I did ask the question. Thank you.
No, you followed up with a statement. Just ask
I
a
was
question.
clarifying the question. Thank you.
Well, it is not his land, so he doesn't have authority of it.
Okay. Thank you. Is there going to be another hearing after this one, or there'll be a decision after this one? I guess that's to you, Your Honor, or whoever's running this.
I'm not under oath or on the witness stand, so.
There will be a county board meeting on the 25th.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, somebody was going to, yep. Go ahead, sir. Step up and use the mic and tell us your name.
Doug Gardner, Gardner. On the roadway, you said you're going to dig out and then put hard or large rock on the bottom and then gravel on top?
No, larger gravel for the first 8 inches and then more fine gravel on the top 4.
Okay,
All gravel though.
so you're not going to raise the gravel level any more than it is now?
No.
Okay. Traffic on it, how are you going to control the traffic?
We could put signs in the front. I know the idea of a gate came up, but since the road won't be fenced in, I don't know if a gate would help at all. So I feel signage would be the best.
I'm concerned that I have a mailbox into my driveway. I'm afraid my mailbox is going to be damaged and my part of my fence is going to be damaged with the construction getting out of there. Are you willing to take care of that if something happens?
Yes.
You talked about, you said earlier that you wasn't going to put a tree line or barriers around the fence because you didn't think it was necessary. Now tonight you said you were considering that. How do I know you're going to actually do it?
So we have this here, and this is the option. And what we'll do is we will discuss after whether you feel it would be best to have this screening, or we can talk about a one-time payment instead of the screening, whichever you think would be more beneficial, or which you would prefer.
So you're saying that Mike Pratt won't have any say-so on it after he's leased the ground to you?
We are proposing this here. We will discuss with him what to do with the land, but we are saying here that we're willing to put up landscape screening, and that is being said under oath.
On your Google Maps, your Google Map 2013, you got a borderline of where you're going to propose it.
I'm sorry.
I see
Say that again, Doug, please.
in your book I got from the zoning office, Google Map for 2013, you've got a borderline of where you're going to put it.
That's not a
Does that include your staging area that you called for?
The layout area?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that, according to Mike Pratt, and I consulted him on this.
Now
Because-
you're telling him things. You gotta ask questions. You just gotta. He's the only one under oath. You're not testifying.
There's a conflict, and I don't understand what the map says and what the landowner says, and I'm confused on this very bad. And
Why don't we ask a question? Is there a difference between the map and what you are testifying about? Mr. Ryan? I'm Ryan,
questioning.
Just a minute. If you want some help, I'm trying to help you,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Mr. Ryan, is there a difference between the map and that about which you're testifying under oath?
No.
No. You said there's going to be T1 panels.
Yes.
How often are you going to have to change these because of the upgrades?
They usually they can last for up to 50 years, but the guarantee is for 25. Hence, we do the 20-year lease and then the 5-year increments to make sure that they're still up to code and performing at their highest.
Okay. I guess I don't have nothing right now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yep, I see a hand raised in the back.
Leslie Barron, Beran.
Did you hear that? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, how old is New Leaf Energy?
New Leaf is a newer name for Borrego, which has been around for 40 years.
But how old is New Leaf Energy?
The name is about a year old.
July of 2022, correct?
Yes.
9 months.
You're going to have to, I know it's hard, I do it too, but you're going to have to get up next to the microphone.
Okay.
Sometimes you got to practically swallow.
How many projects have you worked on through this company?
Myself,
Yes.
60.
How many have gone through and are built?
None.
Have you ever heard of Tonal Sound?
I'm not familiar with that exact term.
Magnetic waves. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Will this project produce that?
Inverters give off a very minimal amount of EMFs,
At what distance in radius?
usually about 3 feet.
So there won't be any need for radiation monitors.
No, they're placed in the center of the 35-acre parcel.
What are you going to use for storage since you are not using batteries now?
We're not going to have storage.
You're taking it direct?
It goes, yes. Because we don't have storage, we will lose what's called the clippings, which is the extra electricity that's not used in the grid. But we're willing to do that.
Are you aware of a recreational lake very close to this project?
No, I'm not.
Do you have any idea as far as comparing solar panels to nuclear plants, the difference as far as waste?
Waste as in,
As in toxic waste?
yes, there's no toxic waste from solar.
I've read that it creates 300 times more toxic
Now you're
waste.
telling them things.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's hard to do, but you're not under oath.
I'm sorry. I am an adjacent property owner, and when I wasn't aware of the landscape plan during the committee meeting, and I was not aware that it was.
You're telling them things again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just ask them a question.
Excuse me. Were we informed that it was only 900 feet from the adjacent property line for the subdivision?
Yes. Well, we had the same maps at the committee meeting.
Are you aware of as far as the ordinance 11-22-008 for a platted subdivision as far as a visual screen design?
I did, yes. That's why we updated this.
How are you defining property line? It reads immediately adjacent to the property line.
You can
Oh, I'm
only,
sorry.
he can only answer one question at a time.
Okay.
The question pending is how are you defining property line?
Correct. Thank you.
The end of the 299 acre parcel we're working with.
Do you know exactly what the approach zone is for the airport at Dixon?
I don't off the top of my head right now.
Do you believe this is compatible with the comprehensive plan that Lee County has?
I do.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I have a few, won't be near as tedious as, but I apologize if I repeat anything. Sometimes my handwriting can't keep up with the testimony. How deep, if you augured, screwed in the support pilings, how deep would it be?
I believe they're still 15 feet.
The other, you testified there's one man gate shown on the west side. Where would the other two be?
The north and south.
So on each side of the compass, north and south. But not on the east,
I don't
right?
believe there's one on the east side, no.
Thank you. By when would you have an Illinois registered landscape architect certify the screening plan?
Before we got a building permit.
The term solid waste that's in the Lee County ordinance, I think it could be interpreted to include not only human waste, which you just said, but other sorts of solid waste, because it refers to solid waste created by operation or maintenance of the project, of the SES. would this project create any solid waste besides human waste?
Nothing that wouldn't be taken away.
And would you take it away if it was created, what might it be?
It could be from mowing the lawn, or I can't think of too many things. It's only maintained 2 or 3 times a year.
And you take it away in conformity with all state, local, federal
Yes.
regulations?
Yes.
I still am confused about, are you saying that in the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District's Natural Resource Information Report, there is a stormwater analysis memo?
Yes.
If drainage tiles that are on site were located and then found to be damaged by either construction or operation of the proposed SES, would you commit to repairing them in the same or better condition?
Yes.
By when?
I don't have a time, but as soon as possible. I know that we understand that they're very necessary.
I think you answered this, but by when would you contact jurisdictional drainage districts for a drain tile survey?
Once we have the actual survey done, we can send it to the district.
Say it again.
Once we have the survey complete, we can send it to the district, which will do the survey once receiving permit.
You don't mean once you have the survey, once you have the permit?
Once we have the permit, we will conduct
Got it.
the drain tile survey, and once we have that survey, we will give it to the district.
Got it. Well, are you going to have somebody besides the district do the survey?
Yes.
And who would that be?
We usually use a company called run by Tom Huddleston.
Oh, okay. Thank you. With some 30 to 40 workers arriving at the project site every day in their own vehicles, I'm sure sometimes they'll team up in more than one in a vehicle. But with that number of personal vehicles, where will they park?
On the construction layout area.
There's room?
There should be, yes.
But not on Maples Road, correct?
I don't know if there will be too many people in there, and they might have to park on the road. I'm not sure. It depends on the construction company and how many vehicles there are.
If you know, how close is the nearest airport, which would apparently be Dixon Municipal?
2.3 miles.
You said that was the closest airstrip. How about airport? So I think you're saying now Dixon Airport is 2.3 miles.
Yes.
How about an airstrip?
I don't know the answer to that.
Will any topsoil within the proposed project parcel be stripped or removed, stripped, or sold?
No.
How about the topsoil that you take out for the access road? What will happen to that topsoil?
No, that will also remain on site.
Where?
Where the landowner would like.
If you know, how long will the process of rack support, pile driving, or auger screwing take?
Usually takes about 3 weeks.
Okay, thank you. You may step down. Ms. Kennedy, further evidence?
No, Judge.
Okay. Let's see, around the horn. Ms. Hinkle, you want to present some testimony or evidence? Okay, want to step up and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Sure. ZO, what was your last exhibit, Ms.? 9. Yours was 9A? These are all the same, right? 10, 10, 10. That's off the record, as I'm singing 10. Oh, no, I got to complete it. You know, that's a requirement. Okay. All right, state your name, please.
Alice Hinkle.
And your business or occupation, Ms. Hinkle?
I am the Renewable Energy Coordinator for Lee County, and I am employed in the zoning office.
And as part of your duties, have you been responsible for the creation of any ordinances?
I have worked on the drafting of a couple of ordinances.
Okay. And what is exhibit number 10?
Exhibit number 10 is a copy of the current ordinance that Lee County has in place governing solar energy systems.
Right. Is there something particular you wanted to draw
Yes.
the ZBA's attention to within that?
Yes. Pages 6 and 7. On page 6, number 12, the screening, I am going to go ahead and just read that into the record. 12, screening. In an effort to help minimize the visual impacts of an SES on adjacent non-participating dwellings from a single-story dwelling viewpoint, screening shall be provided as follows. A, platted subdivisions. A platted subdivision shall have a visual screen designed, installed, maintained, and ultimately removed by the applicant at the time of decommissioning. The visual screen will be installed on the property being leased by the SES immediately adjacent to the property line. This provides for the most effective screening and minimizes the potential of drain tile damages. B, adjacent non-participating dwellings excluding platted subdivisions. Subject to the provisions of this paragraph, a visual screening option shall be provided by the applicant to the owner of any adjacent non-participating dwelling. C, the visual screening option shall provide the following options. I, the owner of any adjacent non-participating dwelling, at their discretion, may elect to receive a one-time payment from the applicant equal to the cost of design, installation, maintenance, and removal of a visual screen in lieu of the actual visual screen. This option shall be detailed in writing by the applicant, including a proposed design and budgetary estimate for the design, installation, maintenance, and removal of the visual screen as prepared by an Illinois registered landscape architect. This one-time payment allows for the owner of any adjacent non-participating dwelling to install the visual screen on their own property if and as they desire. This one-time payment shall be paid prior to the issuance of any building permit, and proof of payment shall be provided to the zoning administrator. Or, II, The owner of any adjacent non-participating dwelling, at their discretion, may request a visual screen be designed, installed, maintained, and ultimately removed by the applicant at the time of decommissioning. If this option is chosen, the visual screen will be installed on the property being leased by the SES immediately adjacent to the property line. This provides for the most effective screening and minimizes the potential of drain tile damages. D, if the owner of any adjacent non-participating dwelling does not elect one of the above two options, no visual screen will be installed and a one-time payment will be provided as described in the first option. Payment shall be mailed to the property owner via certified mail and proof of mailing. The payment shall be provided to the Lee County Administrator a minimum of 30 days prior to the issuance of any building permit. A minimum of 30 days prior to the issuance of any building permit, the applicant shall provide a signed copy of a memorandum of understanding to the zoning administrator outlining the terms of the visual screening option as agreed upon by the applicant and owner of any adjacent non-participating dwelling. F, standards for the visual screen are as follows. I, a visual screen shall be in the form of a vegetative, landscaping, opaque fencing, or approved combination thereof, as agreed upon by the non-participating landowner and the applicant. I, all visual screens shall be designed and prepared by an Illinois registered landscape architect. I, all fences used as or part of a visual screen must be built in accordance with Chapter 10, Section 14 of the Lee County Code. I, all vegetative landscaping shall be planted at a minimum of 3 feet tall and must reach a minimum height of 8 feet within 4 years of planting. If the vegetative landscaping or any portion thereof that has been installed by the applicant does not maintain a height of 8 feet anytime during its 4th year of being planted, the visual screen or affected portion shall be replaced by the applicant at the start of the next growing season. IV, all visual screens that are installed by the applicant shall be maintained in good condition by the applicant at all times. And V, the visual screen shall be installed as early as possible in construction phase of the SES. And that is all.
Okay, questions, this witness, let's see, Ms. Hesser? Ms. Duffy? Ms. Kennedy?
Nothing.
Mr. Forster?
I have no.
Mr. Bro?
No questions.
Mr. Meyer?
Just so I understand exactly, on number 12, A, the visual screen will be installed on the property being leased by the SES immediately adjacent to the property line. This provides for the most effective screening. That means it's on the leasehold area. Is that correct?
That was not the intent. So technically, because the parcel of land does not receive its own PIN until after the construction, the parcel that is being petitioned is what we are considering the parcel, what it would be adjacent to. So we're looking at the parcel as a whole. That was the intent.
So it wouldn't be installed on the property being leased by the SES, but on the property, the parcel boundary.
As this reads, the screening would take place at the property line, but would not be located on the non-participating owner's property. So it would be the owner of whoever is leasing their land to the company.
So should it be right next to the fence that the leasehold area has, or should it be on the fence at the property line, the parcel line?
I have to default to the ordinance. and the way it's written. And what this is saying is that it would fall at the property line, not at the fence line for the array.
Okay.
Or that's my interpretation.
Ms. Huss?
So in your opinion, the proposed landscape plan is not in accordance with the ordinance?
That is my understanding.
What is the process for remedying a proposed landscape plan that is not currently in adherence to the Lee County ordinance?
So at this time, no plan has to be in place as part of the approval process for the SUP. Everything would come at the building permit time. So if they are not in compliance, when they go to pull their building permits, they will not receive a building permit and they will not be able to move forward.
And prior to the building permit being issued, the parcel ID number will not be granted for the leasehold area?
It, to my understanding, does not occur until after construction has taken place and the as-built are provided to the county.
Okay. One question pertaining to the ordinance. Does the ordinance allow for replacement of the solar panels without approval from the Lee County Zoning Board?
I'll have to refer to the ordinance real quick.
Page 14, number 2A.
So long as the equipment is like kind to what they have presented tonight, they would not need to go through another hearing process. If they're going to change their equipment, change the size of their project, the megawatts, then they would have to come for a repowering.
Okay, so if any panels did need to be replaced, they would be replaced with exact like and kind according to the ordinance
To be in compliance, yes,
with the code.
that's what it calls for.
Okay, that is all. Thank you.
All right. I'm glad we didn't go too much further down the road of interpreting the ordinance. That's not within the scope of Ms. Henkel's expertise, I don't think, even though she devised it. However, that having been said, you testified, correct, that you testified about your intent when the ordinance was drafted, correct?
Correct.
And that means that is a function, that means your interpretation is a function of how you intended, correct?
Could you rephrase
Sure.
that?
The way you interpret it is partly a function of what you intended when you wrote it, correct?
No, I didn't draft it with my intentions. This was drafted with the intentions of the citizens, the companies, the county board members. I was merely putting words.
No, your present interpretation is partly a function of what you intended, correct?
I guess.
Okay. But having said that, you also don't know what any given county board member intended when they voted for or against it, do you?
No,
So in the end, the interpretation of the ordinance will be first up to the ZBA and then up to the county board, and if contested, then up to a circuit court, and then if disagreed with, up to an appellate court. Would that be correct?
that's my understanding.
Yes. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. You can step down. Thanks.
Public?
Oh, sorry. Interested parties, questions of this witness. Sorry. Got all wrapped up in that. Okay, now you can step down. Thanks. Ms. Zoomers, any questions? Raise hand. No, nobody? It's only fair to go around the horn. Ms. Kennedy was allowed to continue tonight, so Ms. Duffy, any further evidence? Interested parties, anybody wish to present any evidence? Now, before you raise or don't raise your hand. As I tried to explain on opening night, and as I sort of alluded to last night, and will more explicitly explain again, evidence is when either you or a witness of your choice, you put under oath, question him or her, or if it's you, I'll help you move through your testimony, and you're subject to cross-examination. The purpose of evidence is to testify as to facts, not to give the zoning board your opinion or how you feel. Examples, whether saying, I saw the light and it was green is a fact. Saying, I think this proposed project is the best thing in the world, or I think this is the worst thing in the world because I feel it's unfair to me, is an opinion. That's not a fact. So those are distinctions. So that having been said, any interested parties want to testify to facts? Okay, seeing none. We have concluded the evidence phase. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll make closing arguments, public comments. How about 25 after? Come back to order. And it's time for closing comments. If Ms. Huss wants to come back in, that'd be great. This is making a mountain out of it. Okay, Ms. Kennedy, would you like to give a closing argument or comment?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. First and foremost, on behalf of the applicant, I want to thank everyone for participating throughout this hearing process, both last Thursday night and tonight, and for the future work that the Zoning Board of Appeals will do at our next meeting. As you know, pursuant to the Lee County Zoning Code, the Zoning Board of Appeals shall hear evidence relating to several factors when considering an application for a special use and making a recommendation as to the same. I'd like to briefly touch on each one of those factors and summarize the testimony and the evidence provided by the applicant as to each factor that would support your recommendation of this petition. The first factor is the effect of the proposed special use on the character of the neighborhood. We believe by ordinance and by the comprehensive plan that this solar project fits in with the agricultural use of the property. You've heard testimony from Mr. Ryan that this project will take the land out of row crop production, but will not take it out of agricultural production. Mr. Ryan also testified as to the many benefits that this project will bring if sited in the area. Adjacent landowners also stand to benefit from utility savings. There will be increased real estate taxes, the ancillary benefits that that Mr. Ryan testified to by bringing local jobs to the area. Mr. Ryan also testified as to the temporary use and nature of this project, the fact that it can be removed and decommissioned later, and the setbacks and vegetative screening and buffering for adjacent landowners. The second factor, the effect on surrounding properties. Here, Mr. Ryan testified that this project will not generate loud noise or vibrations. There will be no odor, no shadow flicker, no hazardous materials to affect neighboring properties. There will be no fire and explosion hazards, no glare expected, no negative impact anticipated to surrounding land values. And again, hitting on that increase to the tax base of the county and those ancillary benefits that Mr. Ryan testified to. The third factor is issues relating to traffic conditions. Now here, Mr. Ryan testified that there would be an increase in traffic conditions during the construction phase of the project. But immediately upon completion of same, traffic is expected to decrease in the area. The fourth factor relates to public utility facilities. Mr. Ryan testified that this project will require no new infrastructure. Therefore, no public utilities will be used. The fifth factor relates to environmental concerns. Here, you heard about the EcoCat consultation and termination with no record of state-listed threatened or endangered species. There are no Illinois natural area inventory sites. You also heard to the wetland delineation investigation submitted with the application materials, which concluded that no wetlands or other U.S. waters were identified within or within 100 feet of the proposed project area. Additionally, the FEMA firm map indicates that the proposed project is outside of any 500-year floodplain, and that's included in your application materials. You also heard to the SHPO that was conducted and the results of that there were no archaeological findings anticipated in the project area. The sixth factor is the compliance with the rules, regulations, and standards set forth in this title. Under this factor, you've heard testimony from Mr. Ryan about the applicant's intent to comply with state and federal standards as well as industry best practices. Further testimony from Mr. Ryan, I would say ad nauseum, it concludes how the project as performed conforms to the ordinance which regulates solar energy systems. Again, you heard about how the project stands to benefit the community as a whole and helps achieve some of the goals of the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. The seventh factor relates to other matters pertaining to the public health, safety, or general welfare. We believe that the community as a whole stands to benefit from the siting of this community solar project. Those locally will see and reap the benefits from the siting of this project, ranging from lease payments to the participating landowner, subscription benefits to those in close proximity to the project, and those within the county generally, the ancillary benefits stemming during the construction phase of the project, and the county as a whole will see a benefit from the increased tax base. We also believe that the siting of this project also seeks to serve the state's goals of having more renewable energy for the future. Now, as part of your position, you have the authority to recommend approval of this project subject to certain terms and conditions. You also have the authority to interpret the ordinance regulating the solar energy systems. Paragraph 12A, which Ms. Hinkle testified to, relates to the vegetative screening of the ordinance. Now, paragraph 12A uses the phrase, "The visual screen will be installed on property being leased by the solar energy system immediately adjacent to the property line." And it's important to note that this phrase, again, is used in paragraph 12, subsection C, Roman numeral 2. Here, the land being leased, as testified to by Mr. Ryan, is a 35-acre parcel, what I've referred to throughout the course of this hearing as the leasehold area. The screening proposed by the applicant has the screening at the boundary of the leasehold area where the solar energy system is to be situated. I too was in attendance at the committee meetings relating to the screening requirements and the goals of the same. At length, the committee members discussed the goals of the county, and one of those goals being the goal to not commit agricultural waste. I believe that under the way that the ordinance was written, I believe that the ordinance was written under the premise that the solar farm would be immediately adjacent to a nearby property, which triggered the screening requirements. Here we have the project parcel, the leasehold area being insulated within that project parcel. We believe that the screening proposed and noted on the exhibits introduced during tonight's portion of the hearing are further that goal of not committing agricultural waste while still following the spirit of the ordinance. You've heard about the topography of the site, especially in relation to the subdivision to the north. Specifically, Mr. Ryan testified that the nearest residence in that subdivision is 967 feet away. Now, he also testified to the natural buffering presently through row crop production, the natural topography, and the slope of the leasehold area. In your interpretation of the ordinance, we believe that we have complied with the screening requirements. And with all this being noted, we ask that you carefully review the evidence and testimony presented, that you compare it to each of the 7 factors that must be considered under the county code, and that ultimately that you recommend this petition to the county board for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, we bypassed that then. Interested parties, anybody want to give a speech, public comment, call it what you may. Raise your hand if you wish to. If not, that's fine. I'll ask you to start with your name again.
My name is Doug Gardner. I live next to this proposed property being done. I'm totally against it. My reasons is the gravel road. I got a blacktop driveway next to where this is going to be at. I got people driving up my blacktop driveway now and turning around. Since this proposal has been in practice this grass lane right now, I've had people drive up and down that. The last 5 years, I've had all kinds of ATVs, 4-wheelers. I even had 2 cars land out in that cornfield, thought it was a road. By having that gravel road, I'm gonna have more of an issue. Michael Pratt, as the owner, is also gonna have issues. He's the one that found the car out there when he's picking corn one day. It's gonna increase a lot more traffic up and down the road. I'm concerned about Maples Road, and the county board ought to be considering that too, that all that traffic might tear up that road. And who's going to fix the road if it gets tore up by doing this work? The laydown yard is not even in the 35 acres, according to the map that I see. I'm concerned about who's going to take care of that laydown yard, who's going to get rid of it when it's done. Security. Haven't got an answer from anybody on that yet. The contact sign, there was a sign down there they put up before we had our last meeting. After last meeting, the sign come back down, so nobody knows what's going on out there right now. far as I'm concerned, the farm east of here, off of Naylor Road, would be by far a better place to put the solar farm. It's a rocky ground, it's rolly ground, not very farmable. That's why the Pratt farm people did not buy it. I'm concerned about the ownership of who's going to own this, take over this property, because if you're going to sell to somebody, is the people from China who's going to be, or where they out of, and how they're going to abide by your rules. The T1 panels, yeah, you said they change monthly, and so how they're going to be up to date. I'm concerned about that. The runoff on these panels, I contacted the people up in Stevenson County Sunday.
I'm going to have to stop you there. You can't, this is a closing argument. You can't testify to what somebody else told you unless you want. I gave you the opportunity to.
Your Honor, I witnessed runoff off this solar panel up there, and it's killing the grass.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but you fail to understand what I'm explaining. When you just say stuff like that, you're not under oath and you're not subject to cross-examination. You can tell them how you feel based on the evidence that's been presented. You can't present new evidence. You passed on that.
I think that I should be reimbursed or something given to me for the gravel road and all the dust I'm going to have to put up with when this project's being done. As far as I'm totally against it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Closing comment, argument? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Linda Murray. I live at 1122 Illinois Route 38. And these are my feelings, right? This is time for feelings.
Yep, that's right.
All right. I'm against any change in our neighborhood. I've lived there for 73 years. And if we improve the land for farming, I just put stuff on my farm for drainage, I'm all for it. I think it should be illegal to use any parts from China. I don't think we have shared the total side effects of what's going to happen to this after it's built. I don't know if you're aware, we already have an Duke Energy in our neighborhood, which I get to see their nice bright lights every night out my bedroom window. And I think the bottom line is greed. May I read a statement off of this paper from the web? Is that permissible?
No, because that's.
Okay. I am 100% against it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? By raise of the hand.
I just believe that a solar development is clearly
Well,
not.
help. Remember, we're making a record, so let's start with your name. Otherwise, we.
Okay, I'm sorry, Leslie Barron. And I just believe that a solar development is clearly not compatible within an established residential area. We have a large residential lake that it's going to be draining into. I'm hoping not, but that's where all the drainage comes from the farm. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. That concludes the hearing of public comments or closing arguments. Well, no, actually not. Anybody on Zoom want to make a public comment? Hit that raise hand button down the middle of the Zoom screen. Anybody? I can't look over my neck won't go that far anymore. Okay. All right. Then that concludes public comments. The next stage, of course, is fact-finding and recommendations. There will be prepared some possible alternative findings of fact, probably in the neighborhood of 100 of them. And we will begin those. Let's make sure everybody's available. It's Thursday night, right? That'd be the 11th. Thank you. 11th, Mr. Forster.
Yes.
Mr. Burrow. Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Ms. Huss.
Yes.
Okay. Thursday night, the 11th, 7 o'clock here, third floor, Old Lee County Courthouse. And there's no mean, obviously, it's a public meeting. People are welcome to attend, but there's no more public participation. It's ZBA business then. All right. Everybody have a good 2.5, 3 days, and we'll see you then.